sorry I had to shout, but my instructions from my favourite, well, one of my favourite PhD students, I have to be careful what I say, was that I had to get everybody back here on time for the final presentation. Now the final presentation is actually being given by Chiara Bonacchi, who needs no introduction in one sense, because she's the person who's organised today and given me my instructions. She is speaking with Dan Pett, who will be chairing the final discussion and next steps session, which you've all got to stay for. The door will be locked after this next piece. And also with Charles Furneaux, who is again honorary lecturer here. He's also a film producer, program producer, and who also has considerable experience in that field. So we've got 3-star speakers this afternoon to wind up the day: Chiara, Charles, and Dan. The floor is yours. Oh, and Charles, he will be in a minute.
Right. Now, our paper is grounded on the presentations that we gave individually this winter in occasion of the Casper Seminar Series. What we would like to do now is to bring together our viewpoints and propose a joint assessment of the potential of archaeological television online. So we will look at the online offer of archaeology programs by traditional television broadcasters, at thematic web TV channels about archaeology that are set up as institutions in their own right, and at videos that are showed more casually, if we want, by archaeological and other cultural institutions on various platforms. So, Charles will start speaking about the online offer of archaeology programs by traditional television broadcasters.
Good. Well, Chiara's going to press the button for the slide, so I hope we coordinate. Right. First of all, I think it's worth saying that the online offer of archaeology programs is really currently just determined by the scheduling requirements of terrestrial broadcasters. What's happened is everything you get online, the various catch-ups, comes from the 5 key terrestrials plus Sky. We've got Sky Player, which is an interesting development, but essentially they're sort of really a terrestrial. So what you're getting is archaeology programming that's commissioned from the context, or within the context of terrestrial broadcasters. And this offering in 2010 was around about 45 hours, I sort of guesstimated from the available material, which was an improvement on 2009, which where I estimated to be around about 25 hours. I mean, it's pretty sort of puny then. The output divides simply into 2 camps: BBC output, which tends to be presenter-led doc series such as Ancient Worlds, and you can get that for up to 7 days after TX on BBC iPlayer. Then Time Team from Channel 4, which you all know, which is available forever from 4 on demand. Should you ever wish to see it, you can actually get the first series of Time Team, which is extraordinary. But overall, the picture is one of serious decline. Archaeology is quite interesting. It mirrors what's happening to all what we used to call factual programmes. In 2003, the terrestrial channels ran around 185 hours for archaeology, I estimated, and a further 90 hours of heritage. If you remember, there's restoration and things like that, all of which had bits of archaeology in them. And then around about this time, I think it was 2003, BBC One showed the film on Pompeii, which was watched by 10 million people as part of a slew of big single programs which were rated really high. Now 10 million people for a program like that is something today is almost unimaginable. I think what's going to happen is archaeology and other tougher factual programming areas are going to continue to be squeezed out of the broadcast terrestrial channels for the foreseeable future, as what the mainstream audience wants to watch continues to be entertainment driven. There's a constant drive to look for the entertainment spin on whatever you're doing. However, I think there is a strong argument to be made for the internet to be regarded as an opportunity to resolve this if you're interested in these areas of programming. So what's going on? I think two things have happened. First of all, we've seen the rise of multi-channel. Multi-channel means satellite TV, cable TV, and digital terrestrial. And what I think is interesting here, in a terrestrial broadcast, this is what we were keeping our eyes on all the way through the first decade of the 2000s. 2001, 9 million homes were multi-channel. In January 2011, 24.5 million homes were multi-channel. and that's a really significant rise. Now what this means is the dominance amongst TV viewers of the terrestrial broadcasters has been challenged. And I think, yeah, here we go. You can see from this, so you can see in 1983 the BBC One got 37% share, whereas in 2010 it's 20.6. Others is that column there, which shows what their share is. It really tells its story. And I think the key thing is really that we're now at 43.7, where are we? It's pretty close to where ITV was in 1983, which gives you, if you think of how big ITV was way back then, it just shows you how powerful it is. Of course that's fractured into lots of little channels itself, but as a separate box, taken together it's massive. So, what we've seen develop in the last decade is a rapidly fracturing audience, with the powerful homogeneity of the previous 5 decades now massively challenged. But for a brief period, this increasingly selective and content-focused audience, while no longer still tied to the offerings of 4 to 5 broadcasters, is still tied to the demands of the schedules on offer to them from any one of the, in fact, it's 141 broadcast platforms available today. Now, what I mean by that is that you have to watch what you want to watch when the broadcaster demands that you watch it. So if you take the traditional model, BBC One choose to put Archaeology on at 8 o'clock. If you miss it between 8 and 9, that's it, forgetting the catch-up issue at the moment. And that sense of the schedule determining how you see things and what you see is still very powerful. However, I think that is rapidly changing at the moment, and this is my argument. And this is because of delivery of TV over the internet. And in the UK today, over the internet, BBC iPlayer gives us a chance to catch up on BBC stuff, ITV Player, 4 on Demand, Demand 5, Sky Player, Seesaw and Blinkbox, both of which are sort of entertainment, it's where you get into feature films and things like that, and then Eurosport Player, which is a sort of catch up on sport. And what's intriguing about that is that actually BBC iPlayer, which until I looked into this carefully I hadn't realised, is probably the world's leading technology for delivering TV over the internet. So what we have in the UK is a country that's really leading the world in the sort of technology of the delivery, which make it one of the reasons why it's expanding so rapidly here. So we've got the vehicle to get programmes and be able to see output when we wish to see it. The next thing that's interesting, which is slide 10, is that access to the means of seeing the internet is massive now. 75% of adults in the UK have broadband, fixed broadband and mobile in quarter 4 of 2010. 91% of adults in the UK personally own or use a mobile phone in the last quarter of 2010. As of November last year, 14% of all adults claim to have watched in the previous week, which is quite a tight sort of measure, TV via a PC or a laptop, and a further 1.95% via their mobile phone, which is extraordinary. I mean, if you just quantify the figures. When asked if they'd ever watched TV via a PC or a laptop, the figure was 34%, which is up from 27% in 2009. So again, people are really getting used to seeing their TV this way. For mobile phones, the figure was 5%, up from 3.1% in 2009. Now, it's not a sort of massive revolution. People are watching on average about 2 hours a week in this way. But, you know, for specific things and catching up on things, that's quite a significant change given how early we are in the process of people changing their habits. Perhaps even more important for the medium term are the figures between 15 to 34-year-olds, where 46% have watched TV via a PC or a laptop, with the ABC ones, which are sort of all of us, following close behind at 43%. So, you know, we're pretty close to half of the population in Britain having watched stuff on the PC, laptop or phone. And so what this is doing is massively increasing the accessibility of TV. Now, does this mean that we're seeing a transfer of viewers from traditional TV viewing to computers and phones? I think this is where the nub of the thing is. In fact, the answer to that is no, it's the reverse. On slide 11, what we see here, this is the average daily number of hours, just in case you're in any doubt, watched on TV, was in 1995, 3.59. 2000 is 3.67, 2005 365. They sort of seem to go up and down in the early 2000s. I'm not quite sure what's happening there. Then 2010, for the first time ever, the average number of hours of TV watched was over 4 hours. It's never been that high before, which is the complete reverse of what you sort of expect. And actually what it seems is we're having a coming together of all these things to encourage people to make the TV habit more their own, which is extraordinary. So clearly, internet TV is contributing to allowing viewers to find what they want to watch, and just by the by, this whole area of how much people watch on TV is difficult to measure at the moment, because BARB, which is where my figures come from, which is the Broadcasting Audience Research Bureau, hasn't yet devised a means of measuring. But the BBC thing I was at this morning, they said on BBC Three, which is a digital channel, half the audience of several of their key shows comes from catch-up, which is phenomenal, and matches with that figure on the behaviour of the younger part of the audience. So clearly, anyway, internet TV is contributing to allowing viewers to find what they want to watch, when they want to watch it, and as a result contributing to the overall increase in the number of hours watched. I think that's what's happening. This trend in increased TV hours watched is interestingly matched by a decline in those who say they would most miss their TVs, with 16 to 24-year-olds, for the first time ever, putting TV second to mobile phones. Even amongst all adults, it's declined in the last year from 50% to 40%. Though for this group, it still ranks ahead of mobile phones. So what Ofcom does, they ask people, what would you most miss of your mobile phone, your TV, and a whole range of other things. And for the first time ever, mobile phones have become the most important, or have gone ahead of TVs, and that's the first time in sort of 20 to 30 years. And again, that's because people are using their mobile phones to watch output of various sorts, be it YouTube or TV. So what can we say from that, very briefly? We can say that the take-up of viewing, TV viewing on the internet in the UK is rapid, and it's probably faster than anywhere else in the world, because the technological advances, such as the BBC iPlayer, which I mentioned, this is rapidly changing people's TV habits and accelerating the fracturing of the audience into increasingly small groups who are now able to be highly discriminating about what they watch and when. What I think will happen is the living room TV will in due course morph into the computer screen. I mean, at home we have a TV plugged in, a computer plugged into our TV, and the kids watch all their TV on catch-up, because I'm sure it's the case with those of you who have kids. And that world of the TV is a separate thing from the computer will disappear. And when that happens, people use the internet as their way of watching TV. The loss of dominance by traditional broadcasters in both the commissioning and also the transmission, by which I mean the scheduling of programming, creates an opportunity for narrowcast programming, especially when it appeals to ABC ones who may be willing to pay once a business model has been established. I think the best way of getting your head around that, and this is sort of part of the sense of pitching for an archaeology sort of type of channel, is that there will be magazines on the internet in the way that you buy magazines in shops today, which are published on paper. And you will perhaps subscribe a certain amount of money to them, and then you know that you will get a certain delivery of types of output and programming. Then for their big 2-3 show-off programs each week, you might pay 50p or something like that. But you can see that's the way TV is going to be going. And if you think of a particular sort of output that's popular, think of Attenborough and the wildlife programming. Every middle-class family in the country wants to see those, and if there's a channel dedicated to that sort of output, they would pay a small premium to watch that. So that's why I think for a lot of the harder, more intriguing factual areas which have seen themselves be pushed off by the demand for more entertainment-led broadcasting, narrowcasting via the internet actually has a great future. Chiara.
I will now discuss 2 successful cases of that archaeological narrowcasting to which Charles was referring. The thematic web TV channels Archaeologia Viva TV and the Archaeology channel. Now, due to the greater amount of web traffic data that I could access, I will focus on the first, explaining who use it and how. I will then show that some key aspects of the consumption of Archaeologia Viva TV also characterize the consumption of the Archaeology channel. Now, Archaeologia Viva TV, and from now on I will also refer to it as AVTV, has been the first thematic web channel on archaeology to be produced in Italy. It was established in 2009 as a result of a 20-year-long collaboration between Archaeologia Viva, which is Italy's most popular specialized magazine about archaeology, and the International Festival of Archaeological Cinema of Rovereto, an activity supported by the Town Museum of Rovereto. The structure of the channel is simple and user-friendly. It is composed of two main sections, one on air and the other on demand. The first has a news format with short videos streaming according to a schedule that is updated every 2 weeks. The on-demand section is an archive with 3 different types of videos: news, documentaries and conversations. In total, there are about 177 videos on the channel, and their length varies a lot. News videos are generally either 7 to 8 minutes long or 15, whereas most documentaries are around 30 minutes long. Conversations are generally longer. Features of the web TV are the newsfeed aggregator, sharing on major networking portals, permalink and embed player, video mail and podcasts. The distinguishing characteristic of the channel is to facilitate direct encounters between archaeologists and the public. This is possible thanks to the media expertise of the partners, their scientific networks and the brands they hold, which grant visibility and authority to the contents online. The partnership between the 3 media institutions also guarantees the sustainability of the web TV. The magazine Archaeologia Viva provides a strong brand name and the necessary funding for covering expenses. Editors are the staff of the film festival who collect videos and decide what to show. Videos reach editors naturally as a result of the activities that are organized by the film festival and the magazine Archaeologia Viva. Now, who watches AVTV? The volume of the audience is not as big as that of the Archaeology channel, for example. And this is both because AVTV is in Italian and because it has just started. Unique visitors are increasing, and between January 2010 and 2011, they have been almost twice those of Sperimentaria, which is the generalist web TV that is edited and managed by the Museum of Rovereto. This might be read as a further sign of the importance of a line with a strong old medium like the magazine AV. The audience of AVTV is also a motivated one. Between January 2010 and 2011, those who casually ended up on the website or came and soon left disliking it have been few. This is proved by the small number of single-page visits, which is expressed by a very low bounce rate of just 0.5%, which is a good figure if we consider that it is really hard to get a bounce rate below 20%. It is a loyal audience as well, and this is showed by the fact that most users, 43% of them, arrive to the web TV directly by typing the URL into their browsers. As observed by Piero Pronetti, who is the director of Archaeologia Viva, viewers initially learn about the web TV reading the magazine Archaeologia Viva. Then they become loyal to the web TV, and this loyalty helps to reinforce the one towards the magazine. Finally, in spite of the language, the reach of the web TV has been considerable in the past year. Most visits have been from Italy, of course, but along the tail there have been 82 more countries, prevalently Western European, Northern American and Asian. But what does the public prefer to watch and how? Visitors stay on the site for about 8 minutes on average and view a little over 2 pages per visit. The most viewed pages are the ones showing the most recent videos in the archive and the homepage with on-air archaeological news. This underlines the appeal of the news format and the effectiveness of short streaming videos which do not require users to select what they want to watch every time. It is the advantage of having information reaching the audience as opposed to the audience having to go to the information continuously. Now, if we compare the case of AVTV with that of the Archaeology channel, we can see how the profile and preferences of the audience are similar in 3 main ways. First, just as AVTV, TAC had a slow beginning. It was established in 2000, but really kicked off only 3 years later, and in 2008 it reached 8 million page views. Second, here too visitors are very motivated. as suggested by the low bounce rate, by the fact that most visitors access the web TV directly, and by other survey data. These say that 66% of respondents have at least a university degree. 22% are working archaeologists and or teachers and professors. 26% are students and 47% are archaeology enthusiasts. Now, age does not constitute a barrier to access. The age distribution is in fact quite broad, with a model age of 46 to 55. And finally, the last important similarity with AVTV is the primacy of archaeological news in terms of popularity. Now, the business models on which AVTV and TAC are based are different. AVTV lives thanks to the resources and activities of the film festival and AV magazine. TAC instead is sustained by underwriting. Both AVTV and TAC, however, are institutions in their own right. Different is the case of videos that are shown more casually by archaeologists or archaeological institutions. And then we speak about them, explaining how they're made available and whether they work or not.
Thanks, Chiara. Thanks, Charles. I'm now going to be Dad and not Lena, so I'll go talk about some other stuff that I know a little bit more about in these bits. So I'm going to talk about archaeological TV available online on web platforms, whether you can download them, whether you can upload them for yourself. We've had quite a few presentations already today about using these sort of things. Tom talked quite heavily about YouTube and how they've uploaded stuff to Vimeo as well. He made quite a nice quote earlier about being upmarket YouTube in some ways without the adverts. There's other methods of storing stuff online now for video. It's not actually very expensive for you to store your own video now. You can either use the free platforms, which are Vimeo and YouTube, or you can use a very cheap alternative, which is Amazon. Amazon traditionally is known as a buying platform, but they actually do some very good computing things. You can store things on something called S3. You can then stream it over the internet on demand, and it costs a pittance. I'm storing my work on Amazon. It costs me less than 68 cents a month for half a gigabyte, so it's really cheap. So if you want to go that way and have no adverts and stream it over the web, do that. But what the big problems are, I think, for archaeological TV on the web, is it's a very high cost of training. Photography, presentation, all the skills that are associated with it. Tom's nodding his head there, and he knows exactly how much work's involved actually making a good quality video. Now, I work at the British Museum, and recently we've been sent some broadcasting courses. I don't know how much they cost to run, but they're trying to train up more and more people who have got sort of semi-professional skills, produce videos when they go out in the field as archaeologists. You can then put them onto the BM website and create a high-quality experience. Now, whether they're as good as the ones that the professionals produce on TV is a different matter, but they actually do show much better things than someone on video going like that with the camera and sort of backwards and forwards, which is a sort of steady cam idea. But what sort of websites are doing this sort of thing? So the V&A have got a channel which is dedicated, it's quite magazine style. There's a URL there for it, bam.ac.uk/channel. And the British Museum uses its own embedded video, but also puts stuff onto YouTube as well to try and get people in that way. Now we've talked today about people putting content onto multiple platforms and actually using multiple platforms to bring people in to watch things. Now, video, everyone's decided, is a very important thing. Serrator and McGregor had a debate in 2009 where they decided that broadcasting was the way forward for museums. Whether that's the case or not remains to be seen. There's other companies as well that are out there. Well, Thames Discovery Project, I haven't mentioned them yet, I should do. They've got their own videos up, which are made by Anita Sam, who's not here today, and other members of the team, and they're really good. Then there's 360 Production. They made Dig for Britain, and they've got their own video system on their website. And then if you actually look at museum websites as well, there's some very good projects in America. There's this one here, Art Battle. If you go online, there's lots of people talking about art, who are archaeologists, whether archaeology is art, whether you're interested in it, it's a different matter. And then there's Archaeology TV, the American Institute of Archaeology, and they put their stuff exclusively on YouTube. So there's a really different level of variance about how long these videos are, whether they're very dynamic, whether it's just a talking head with nothing else going on, and an interview with anything interesting in it. Production values do vary loads, so you can have really blurry images or pictures of a post hole with no commentary over the top and mud in it. Is that really interesting TV? There's some people who are like that, like Timothy's Tree Story. I'm not interested because I like Romans. Then there's a number of views and the content involved. Now, the number of views varies really heavily across different platforms. So the most successful videos that I've found looking at the web platform only The shorter ones with very high production levels, and they're very punchy and dynamic. I don't know if Charles will agree with me on this because he's got his own perceptions. So Wessex Archaeology, sorry Tom, I'm going to bring up some of your work here. He's got some videos on there that have been viewed over 60,000 times. That's quite good. If you look at the degree of viewing over some of the other websites, it's quite small. Now imagine the time teams videos be viewed a lot, 1,400 times after transmission last week on their web platform. It's really not very many views, is it, when you consider the population of Britain or their normal audience level. I don't actually know how many people watch time team every week.
Between 1 and 2 million.
So 1,400 views is tiny compared to how many people watch it online. Is time team now a live format? Is it not really reaching the demographic that uses the web? That's something else you can think about. So what sort of engagement strategies are we going to come up with? That's something we're going to talk about in the discussion at the end as well, I hope. Maybe there's a few things we could talk about. It's you, isn't it? Am I talking about this bit? Will you? It's up to you, I don't mind. Okay. Charles has shown there's lots of dominance from the traditional broadcasting. There's opportunities now for narrower broadcasting methods. UK is actually leading the way. You've just shown that there's a very low bounce rate for your website. Now, if I look at the British Museum website, the bounce rate there is 30%. On the videos, it's about 65%. So, yeah, so your TV channel that you talk about is really good. People are actually staying watching the videos and going on to watch another one. Whereas the BM site, they come along and looked at, say, a video about an exhibition. They've got bored and gone off somewhere else. Now, you want to bring people in, keep them on your website. So how do you create a strategy to engage people? Do you make them go on to see the next one with short episodes? Do you do other things? There's lots of stuff that you can actually think about. So, what can we do? We can set up institutional TV brands. You can have web pages just devoted to your brand. So, you can have one devoted to Don Henson TV. and hope that people want to watch him. You can manage it with partnership with other organisations as well. So the BBC could partner with you, or a small broadcasting house could do it, or universities. Strong brands are quite useful when it comes to putting your stuff out there, because people identify with them, they remember what they are. It's a very small company, they might not know who you are, and you might not actually get the exposure that you want. So you have to carefully choose your partners if you really want to succeed. So with TV stations online, there's potential for pushing your specialist directly in the home of the person who's watching. You can make them come alive. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. So what makes them work? Is it the person who's actually on the screen? Is it the way that it's being filmed? Is it a combination of different things? I think it's a combination of all the things we talk about. If you haven't got someone who's very dynamic presenting, I'll soon switch off and I'll watch TV, it's just not worth watching. So we've got a thing going on at the British Museum at the moment about trying to find presenters within the staff who can actually do the work. Or do we go out and hire someone? So I think some of you know about the Time Team request for a presenter. They put out a call for broadcasting and said specifically they wanted a woman to front it. Now, I know that a woman's not being chosen for that role. So whether it's leading you when they're trying to find a presenter. So I also think that short news videos are the way forward as well for archaeology. Pushing out 4 to 5 minute videos seems to be good. Longer ones only work if people are actually being captured and they stay along on that site and they actually want to learn more. I haven't found many archaeological TV stations that have really long videos, and it's partly because some websites you can't upload more than a certain length of film. Tom, how long are your average videos for Wessex?
They vary from, but generally 4 to 5 minutes is a good. I think the Roman film is about 10 minutes, no longer than that.
And the popular ones are the shorter ones, really.
The popular ones are the short ones.
Yeah, I think one of the big things we have to remember about the web is that people have very, very short attention span. They get bored very quickly. Well, I find it very hard to do any research on the web. So Brian was talking about putting everything online and data repositories. But I find reading those journals much harder. I like to print them off still. I don't know if other people do the same thing.
Yeah, I just wanted to make another point. Like what we also found is like that there is a big difference between whether you actually, I'll go back, whether you actually set up an institutional TV station that is recognizable on the web, that's basically the result of partnership with strong brands, because that works, that have bigger audiences, it attracts audiences, it's visible. Whereas if you just more casually put videos on the web, yes, that's of course, that will cost you less in terms of money, resources, and so on. But it will, I mean, these videos will be viewed by less people. They work less. So like the big point, the big difference between what we found about TV stations and videos on website is in fact this. Yes, doing a TV station online will cost you more time, money, and so on, but it actually works. Whereas other videos are not, do not attract the same audiences, very simply. And also in terms of the content that works,